And then late in the game, you have the chant, and you probably have seen the stories. This is not brand new. This has been heard in soccer stadiums for years and has become an issue in the last few years that MLS and international soccer has tried to, root out in soccer, but has been unsuccessful so far. The Spanish chant, directed usually at the goalkeeper when he's doing a goal kick, late in the game, happened. The crowd was warned by the PA. Happened again. They put a message up, threatened to suspend the match if it continued. Got to the end, but just a bad look for everybody.
So I was putting the kids down, and I came back in, and I heard the first thing I heard. So I missed the chant the first time. All I heard was discrimination has no place, but the PA announcer reading, and I wonder, is that just like a standard? Because I do reads, when I do Steelers games, I'll do like the NLL objects to any objectionable language and blah blah blah. You can't throw things on the field. Kind of a standard read. But then they started talking about it on the broadcast. Twitter went insane. Blue Sky went insane. Everybody was talking about it. And I went, it's the chant. And we've heard this before. And we've seen this become an issue before. We got Hector on the line. He wanted to weigh in. I told him he could. I said, we will take a call or two on this today. Go ahead and get Hector. Hector, good morning, my friend.
Hector, good morning. How are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. So just wanted to say,
fill us in. Yeah, we can hear you fine, man. Kind of, because Ben got a text he wants to share. Paulie and I talked to a couple of our homies on the Tier 1 team yesterday, asked them their opinion about it as Latin American people and soccer fans, right? So what is your kind of take on what happened?
It's pretty much it started at the 20th minute, actually, because I was up in the press box area, and you can hear like rumblings about it with the first goal kick for the visitors. And then we looked at each other like, oh man, it's about to start, and hopefully they call it out soon enough. I guess they didn't wait. I left at halftime because I needed to do the write-up, but I guess they went on after the second half started. And it kind of sucks, man, because, San Diego Loyal, the example that they set, 4 years ago, forfeiting their match that cost them a playoff game. Yeah. And it's a bummer, dude.
We remember that one well. We had our buddy Steve on the next day to talk about it. And look, being ignorant about it is kind of what I was. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around it at the time. But again, I think you talk about the setting of an example, and you hate that your home opener is marred by something like this. And we asked our buddy Hector yesterday. He said, man, growing up, going to soccer match after soccer match, he said, I've never looked at it that way, right? And he said, but I can't understand, why people take it that way. And here's where it boils down to for me is this. Once that announcement comes on, you now know we got to nip this thing in the bud right now. This can't continue to go on because it's going to end up hurting our team that we're all rooting for.
That's a good point. Even if you were chanting, banana, right. If they told you, hey, you may think it's harmless, but stop doing it or we're going to have to stop the game. Yeah. Just stop doing it. There's no reason you have to do it. And there's certainly some cultural, differences of opinion.
Definitely.
And I got a text last night from my old colleague, Salvador Rivera, great local reporter, covers, Hispanic and border issues in town. And he said, I'm guessing you'll be talking about the, quote, homophobic chant on your show Monday morning. I have a different take on it. Mind you, I'm not excusing it because it's vulgar, offensive, and demeaning. I'm coming from a bilingual, bicultural perspective. Grew up in barrios where the term was and is often used. To this day, friends and family members say it directed at someone. He says, first of all, the word has different meanings if it ends in an O or an A, but, it can mean like a whore, a prostitute when it ends in an A. But he says more often than not, it applies to someone who sells themselves and just a horrible person, a total a-hole. People aren't really trying to call someone gay or homosexual when they're chanting it. It's not necessarily a slur. They're just trying to be insulting to the other player. But he still says, but it doesn't have any place in a public event with children.
Exactly.
There, you still shouldn't be chanting that at a sold out stadium.
Agreed. And again, knowing now, because again, this is not the first time we've seen this, man. It's not. It happens here. It's happened before. And you would love to just eradicate it from the game entirely. And again, I think, you're not, I don't think you're tamping down their culture by saying you can't chant that, man, in 2025. I really don't. I don't look at it as like, oh, now you're telling us what we can and can't say. Look, it may not offend you. It's offensive to a lot of people. It's clearly something that MLS, FIFA, CONCACAF, they all take it very seriously. And so now that you know that, okay, you can't chant race car anymore. You may not understand why. You just can't chant race car. If you do, your team's going to we're going to have to stop the match. Hector told us about a match a couple of years ago. He said they pulled guys off the field for like 2.5 hours and then came back, kicked all the fans out of the stadium. We don't want that. We don't want that reputation here, especially game one. I'm not going to get on the soapbox and scream at everybody that chanted it, but you now know the consequences. You have to be better, and you just can't do it.
We need to check traffic. Mike Ivaris, the head coach, did address it. I want to get to that sound. We'll get to some Padres talk here as well. Don't go anywhere. Back after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danek.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your trusted instant drive-thru oil change. Guys, got a vehicle fire in the North County, southbound 15 before Camino del Norte. It's in the HOV lane. Also, stalled car, northbound side of the 805, right at the northbound 15. That's over to the right shoulder. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Plus, get a free courtesy check of your tires and battery. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for directions and discounts. SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danek with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So if you don't want to listen to the PA announcer at Snapdragon Stadium, maybe you want to listen to the coach of SDFC, who before he took any other questions about the match, addressed the chant that happened late in the game on Saturday night. Here's Mike Ivaris.
Just want to start with a statement that the chant that was heard tonight is unacceptable. It's outside of our values system. It doesn't represent the players, myself, the club, and it certainly doesn't represent San Diego or Baja California. It's not a reflection of who we are. We're a community full of love, support, and we believe in the power of diversity. I want to make sure that everybody knows that it was not from our main supporter group, La Frontera. They match the same values as us. They believe the same as us. They are our teammates. This came from more the general population in the seats, and it wasn't everybody, and I understand that, but it was loud enough that it was enough people. And I just want to make it really clear, it has no place here. It has no place here, and if they're going to continue to come to the game and make that chant, it's better that they do not come.
All right, that's Mike Ivaris, very unambiguous, very clear. In our chat, Panadero says soccer is soft. I've been called worse by my closest friends and family. So has everyone.
Yeah, so
I guess the point is it really wrong to try to be better? Like, actually, let's try to be a little bit better than that, people. I mean, that's again, the message here.
It is the message. And again, if you continue to do it, that your team is going to be, and your team and your team's reputation is going to be the one that takes the hit. And in fact, your team may be penalized, Ben, points, something like that. If you don't want it to escalate into that, you just don't. And yeah, man, there's a lot of finger pointing going on, and I certainly understand it. I certainly understand what many people in the chat are saying now, like, hey man, this is how I grew up. Yeah, I grew up saying different things too. I did, and being in a baseball dugout, not for the faint of heart, when you're 15 years old, and some of the words that got thrown around in there, definitely not cool to say now, as they were in 1987. It's just different. It's different. And if you know the penalty and you do it anyway, that's just ignorance, in my opinion.
My 1417 says, honestly, this is where your channel and your show sucks. You're acknowledging something that shouldn't be acknowledged and making it bigger by doing so. You don't talk about it, you take away power. Well, hopefully we never have to talk about it again.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. I mean, if we didn't talk about it, that would be, in my opinion, kind of sticking our head in the sand about something major that happened on the first home game. So yeah, hopefully we never have to talk about it again.
But Mike Ivaris talked about it immediately after the first home match.
Yeah.
So obviously it was big enough that the team felt the need to address it. They addressed it during the game. That makes it a big story. That
Yeah.
makes it worth talking about. I'd love to never have to talk about it.
Oh,
again.
100%.
That would be the ultimate goal. SDFC goes on the road this week again to Salt Lake on Saturday. Then they'll be back home in 2 Saturdays to host Columbus. So we'll see what happens in the next home match. Hopefully it'll be a great, enthusiastic crowd again.
But again, man, just talking about the game in and of itself, the presentation was spectacular. The presentation of the game was spectacular. I will always marvel over just how giant that field is and how much these dudes run and how exhausting it is to watch. And then, Ben, the skill involved in the way that they move the ball around, it's incredible. I mean, truly, it's incredible. I watched it's the first time I've ever watched an entire match from stem to stern. And again, yeah, I left a little unsatisfied with not being able to pop a goal on game one at home, certainly.
To really let the crowd go
Let
crazy.
the crowd go nuts.
I just wanted to see that moment when the goal went in.
It was so close, man. But it was great. The announcers on there are top tier. Explain it very well. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you got me bought in. I think you can buy in if you're listening.